Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Remember me?
I am joined by the always amazing Eleanor Goldfield. You actually were on last week. You were just on Wednesday.
Was that last week?
Wow. Okay. She's not sure where she is, folks, but that makes it all the better.
I have a bit of a head cold, so that's my excuse. If I start saying absolute nonsense, that's what we're going to blame it on. Cheers.
We are going to cover some updates on Gaza, on the so-called ceasefire. We're also going to talk about Trump has said publicly that he is sending the CIA in to coup Venezuela. And the head of the Pentagon's effort to bomb fishermen off of Venezuela has basically quit that position, which essentially never happens. Anyway, a lot of fascinating
looking
stuff.
For a better work-life balance, or
yeah, better. Apparently, it was too much indiscriminate killing, even for one of the heads of the Pentagon. So we're gonna get to all of that, but I wanted to start with something fun, which always makes for a better show. This is a citizen's arrest that was done in England. This is the Anglian Water CEO as he's walking down the street, and these people are my new heroes.
Mark Thurston. Hello, my name's Isabel. I'm actually here to place you under citizen's arrest.
Excuse me, I'm trying to get some work.
I'm so sorry. I know you are, but this is a very serious matter. The charge is actually public nuisance, and we have reason to believe that you are on your way to commit further crimes of public nuisance. So you are safe. The police have been called and are on their way. And we just request that you wait here with us now until they come.
It's not possible, I'm afraid. I need to get to work.
I do understand that.
My colleagues tried to do this
the
to me
most
the other
British
day up at
exchange.
my office.
Yes. Yes.
So I've seen this stuff before.
Yeah, it's not hello. I do have a right carrying out to under the police the section 24A of the Police and Evidence
Well, I'm
Bill.
going to call the police because you're
Yes, please do. You can also call anyone else to tell them that you may well be late this morning. I do understand that this is inconvenient for you, but I'm afraid the crime of public nuisance is very serious as well.
oh my god, the only thing missing is just like a little tray of tea and biscuits.
It's so wonderful. You've committed a public nuisance.
Also, I love the phrasing public nuisance. That's also the most British thing. It's just a bit of a public nuisance. It's just
and you know, this is the one of the many horrible water companies that is buying up your water, polluting it, dumping it into the rivers. Many crimes to go to list. But yeah, I love these people. I love that they decided to take it upon themselves to stop him. And he then stands there like a goon. I mean, granted, he'd be a goon either way. If he were to try to barrel through them, also goonish. And
I hear what people are
saying
saying in the comments, like he's still the head of this company and he's still a douche canoe.
Oh no, that's why this is just fun.
Right. This is the point of, look, if we knew exactly which singular action made the change, we wouldn't be sitting here. We'd be doing the thing. It's the matter of using a diversity of tactics also to raise awareness. So this kind of public facing action, don't expect it to work. Like, he's not sitting behind bars right now. He's living the high life, but it's about the public facing actions like this are to raise awareness. And I will say that
does interrupt business because he can't go make decisions that harm people.
This one is actually more effective than holding a protest, for instance, because this actually does get in his way physically. And it shows that this is something that people are willing to do. Hey, we know who you are. We're willing to stand in your way as you try to go about your day. It's the same reason that, interrupting members of Congress when they try to have a nice, quiet meal, is that going to change the world? No, but it is about raising awareness and letting them know that we know who they are, and this is part of that push to try and gain momentum. It's not, there's no silver bullet.
I've long
red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
And I've long said that it should not just be acceptable and nice and happy for these people to live their lives as they just cause mass destruction, whether it be water CEOs or big oil CEOs or what have you, big weapons contractors, big ag, etc. they should be uncomfortable. It should be uncomfortable to be these fucking assholes. At minimum, it should not be fun to walk down the street as them. It should be shitty. It should be a shitty life for them to go out to a restaurant where people yell at them and, maybe accidentally tip over their soup. It should just be shitty to be an astronomical pile of douche.
And yes, somebody mentioned lockdowns. Absolutely. This is also the importance of the diversity of tactics, right? And why we should never use a circular.
When you say lockdowns, you're talking about when people lock themselves together?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. When people actually lock themselves to, for instance, construction equipment or doors so they can't be open, so people can't get into wherever it is that they're going to destroy the world. This is direct action that's very, very powerful. Still doesn't fix everything. I think we have to remove ourselves from this idea that there's any one tactic that can fix everything.
I only get behind things that fix all of the things at once. If you're gonna bring something to my desk, it needs to solve all problems.
So the diversity of tactics is really important. And it's really important that we not engage in circular firing squads really for any reason. We can hold people accountable. We can deal with issues inside of our movements without turning to circular firing squads, but especially for tactics. If there's a tactic that you think is, that's a bit spicy, fine. You don't fucking have to do it, but don't shit on somebody else for trying to engage in a tactic that they can do, that they have the expertise to engage in. So that's just what Auntie Eleanor has to say.
Auntie Eleanor, because she is a genius. I was going to bring this up way later in the show, but you just segued your ass straight into it.
Okay.
This is someone who's put together a video on how to fuck up left-wing meetings. And let's watch. I think I can show all of it, but let's at least watch some of it. This is how to screw up left-wing meetings. And because Instagram sucks, I gotta hit refresh. Oh, no, it's gone.
Oh, no.
Why did that happen?
What? Do you remember who shared it?
Oh, my God. This is so frustrating. You talk for a second. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Then.
So... I can tell you from my own experience that one way to fuck up a leftist meeting is to constantly talk about composting. This is something that happened to me during Occupy LA. Someone would at every single group meeting, bring up the importance of composting.
It's gone. Anyway, it was quite funny. It was two people standing in front of a chalkboard, and Grim needs to burn in hell. It was two people standing in front of a chalkboard, and I don't know how viral it is, so I don't know if other people have seen it, but it says how to fuck up a left-wing meeting, and basically there's 4 different levels of conversation, and it's kind of like my 4 levels of reality, right? And one of them says ethos at the top, which is the general ethos of something, and then another one says tactics is another one of the levels, and part of the key is whatever level you're discussing, take it to a different level so that no one can actually discuss the thing. So, for example, if someone says, "I don't know if our protests where we hold up signs are achieving anything," then take it out of that and go, and instead of that, say, well, I think that we're not tackling all of the issues at once. So it was kind of like my joke a moment ago. Only bring things to me that are going to solve all the issues at once. All right, don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. I just.
So it's always taken away from the thing that's actually being discussed. So if whether there should be violence involved, let's instead discuss prisons. If you're trying to do something about big oil, property destruction. Yeah, property destruction. If you're discussing big oil, then jump in and say, well, wait. But what about all the animals that are being harmed at factory farming? Just shift it away so that nothing can ever actually be decided or moved on. Or, well, it's kind of whataboutism, but it's acting like it's a little slightly different because it's not saying, it's saying we should also be doing
right. Well, it's like the I once saw at a Black Lives Matter protest in DC, somebody walked in and said, well, what about Indigenous lives? Why aren't they included? And it's like, well, that's also important. And we're not saying that those don't matter, but it's kind of like walking into an AIDS fundraiser and being like, what about cancer? You're not saying
that was a Ted Alexander joke.
Oh, is that where it got
Yeah.
it from? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
Like
citation
walking
of that
into
joke.
walking into a cancer fundraiser and being like, why aren't you talking about AIDS?
Oh,
and they're
I had
like,
it backwards.
and they're like, what?
But yeah, so it's like this, and this is also why collaboration is so important, so that people don't, I mean, somebody's always going to be offended, right? There are some people who just look to be offended in life. And so you're not going to please everybody. And we on the left should just stop trying to. But I think it's important that this is one of those moments where you're like, well, hey, let's find ways to collaborate so that we have these moments where we're talking about Indigenous and Black lives and, migrant and whatever, refugee. And so that we're actually building power together, and we're not stuck in these silos where we just get angry at each other for not talking about the issue that we think is most important. Like, it's just fucking dumb.
Agreed. Okay.
I'm sorry you lost your video.
Dude, that just threw everything off. It was a funny
Would
video.
you like to take a moment?
I already took the moment. I already took the moment to get angrier. I like to take a moment to get angry. A lot of people like to center. They like to calm. I like to take a moment so I can get a little bit angrier. That's how I do things. I think it's a good tactic.
Well, this will make you angrier as well. While I choke on my coffee.
Gaza is set to become a billionaire haven. This is so exciting, folks. Aren't you just excited for the great things that are going to come to Gaza? Jared Kushner, the billionaire haven, according to Jared Kushner and Zionist billionaires.
So there's an article that was posted on N12, which is apparently one of the most watched and read outlets in Israel. And the Canary, not the Canary Mission, by the way.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Canary is a great UK outlet, an awesome
Yes.
UK outlet. Canary Mission is the never criticize Israel blacklist on college campuses. They go after anyone who criticizes Israel. So very different things.
So
then there's also the Bird, which I'm a fan of.
Unless it's in a coal mine.
No, it's not nice. Don't make them be coal miners. All right, they got enough on their plates.
That's what I'm saying. But they're in the coal. That's what
Yeah.
They used to keep them in a cage anyway. It's just it is a cluster of the worst kind of humans you could actually. I don't even want to call them humans because it's kind of a dig against humans. The worst kind of toxic sludge wearing human masks that you can imagine. You got Palantir, Peter Thiel. You got Jared Kushner. Larry Ellison, and they are wanting to turn.
Dude, can that many different lizard species all be in one room without eating each other?
Oh my God, I wish they would.
Oh.
And then that should be aired on primetime.
Oh.
So they want to turn Gaza into a haven for billionaires, which incidentally, like what's happening in Gaza is only because of the billions of dollars that Israel has gotten from the US. So kind of it already is. It's just a dystopia caused by a Zionist settler colonialist genocidal class. So, but that's my little philosophical tangent.
Got it.
They want to set up a city of tax-free startups with scattered server farms for cloud processing and artificial intelligence. Like, I don't even know. If you asked me to come up with the most dystopian thing you could do to Gaza, I wouldn't even be able to come up with that.
Well, it's also like, why do billionaires have to be involved at all? Why? What the fuck is happening?
Well, because they want to be involved in everything.
Is it because people are just okay with billionaires doing what they want? So it's like, let's make it a billionaire haven.
Well, the whole world is really a billionaire haven, but
well, that's my point. So why is it gotta be Gaza?
Because they will of course supplement factories with cheap labor and basically no regulations. And this is also a way, they say, to normalize relations with Saudi Arabia. Again, this is according to the Israeli outlet N12. It says, quote, the huge economic project of rebuilding Gaza after the war is already attracting interest from countries, billionaires, and former leaders. and from Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who aspires to establish AI centers in the Strip. Experts predict that the development initiatives could serve as leverage to promote normalization with Saudi Arabia. Ellison has already said that he would put in $350 million into the plan.
Larry Ellison, also largest private funder of the IDF, giving hundreds of millions to the IDF. And as you guys know, we've talked about it a lot. He also has bought CBS, Paramount, TikTok, all of those things in order to push more Zionist talking points on everyone.
So this is horrifying, and yet another reason why there should not be any billionaires on this planet at all. And I'm not saying what to do with the information, but as the saying goes, the people destroying this planet have names and addresses.
I think here's a positive idea for Epstein's Island. You take away their billions of dollars, you put them on Epstein's Island, and you let them do whatever they want to each other.
Oh, that's like Carlin's giving nothing but whiskey and PCP.
Yeah, whiskey and
PCP.
Let them go. Let them go nuts. That's it.
I guess the equivalent these days would be ketamine.
Sure, give them whatever they want. It is just not their billions of dollars. Let's talk about Israel's mounting ceasefire violations ongoing in Gaza.
Yeah, so this is a piece that was put out by Truth Out. I think a lot of outlets have been The Intercept. A lot of outlets, including Truth Out, have done work on this recently. But so the ceasefire technically took effect. I don't even like using the word ceasefire because that suggests
I know, but there's a problem here because also people want to say it's not a ceasefire at all. And I'm like, well, it is different than just bombs raining down.
It's basically
still shitty.
It's a stepping down of a genocide. And there's a really good quote in here by I can't remember who it is, but he points out that is not a ceasefire. We are talking about a managed genocide, a managed forcible displacement.
A slower genocide.
Exactly. And I think this also looks a lot like what we're seeing in the West Bank, right? It is a managed ethnic cleansing, right? It's a slow genocide in comparison, but that doesn't make it not one, right? And of course, as the same person points out, I gotta find his name, Kenny Shawa, what Israel is trying to do is actually very strategic in the long term. They've signed this agreement that's going to get their hostages back, but that will allow them to resume their strategic objectives of rendering Gaza uninhabitable and eventually lead to mass exodus in a way, here's the key, in a way that is palatable to the international community. I think that that's key, right? Because what we started to see was the international community started, and let me not give them too much credit, right? They did fuck all, but they started to be like, oh, well, the famine's a bit much. We didn't have a problem with you bombing babies, but starving them,
80% of the world was essentially against Israel, and of the population, not of the countries, but that actually does have impact eventually. It has far less impact than Trump cutting off the missiles, but it does have an impact. 1 out of every 3 humans on this planet were boycotting some product because of its connection to Israel. It was having an impact on Israel economically. I mean, it continues to have an impact, and so, they want a more palatable genocide.
Right, which is what he's arguing, which is what they're doing by, and basically like the ceasefire deal said that you have to let in 600 aid trucks a day. Now they're letting in 200 or 300. And they've closed the Rafah crossing.
I've got more on that in a second.
They've closed the Rafah crossing, which is a critical crossing to get aid in because it's the crossing with Egypt.
It's the only crossing that's not Israel.
Right. And so this is a critical spot, and they're saying they're not going to open it. And they're only allowing 200 to 300 trucks in a day. So
let's show the Al Jazeera article about how aid is critically low. Mm-hmm. Man, this one's jumping away. I'm having a bad day on producing this show. Anyway, they were saying that
we're with you.
No, you're with me in this shitstorm. They're saying aid is critically low, not nearly, as you were saying, not nearly the number of trucks that need to go in, and that Israel had agreed to are actually entering Gaza.
Well, and I think everybody, and speaking to people on the ground in Gaza, nobody expected Israel to stick to this agreement because they've never stuck to anything.
Mhm.
So it was always a very fragile hope. And this is, yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's another article, Al Jazeera. Israel is blocking the heavy machinery that is needed to clear rubble and to find bodies.
Which is part of the deal, right? Was to find Israeli hostages that died under the rubble.
Yep.
Hamas said that they need to have this heavy machinery, but if Israel doesn't allow that in, Israel at the same time goes and says, well, they're not holding up their end of the deal. They're not finding the bodies of these hostages. So we're going to break. I mean, this is a classic twisting and contorting and distorting of facts. But they say, look, they're not doing what they said that they were going to do, so we can not let in aid, or we can snipe people, which they've done. They've killed upwards of 40, 50 people since the advent of the ceasefire.
And Israel knew that it was, whether they let heavy machinery in or not, Israel knew that Hamas doesn't have the capability to find every body that Israel wants returned. So Israel knew that a certain number of bodies are not going to be returned, and they could claim, oh, you won't return the bodies, you're holding them from us, and then, use that as a propaganda tool to say that's why we're not letting the aid in, etc.
So, and again, this is Tariq Kenishawa. He's a Palestinian-American writer and foreign policy expert. He also added that Israel knows that those technicalities exist, that Palestinians can't just like lift up an entire building and be like, oh, well, there's the body of the hostage. And so they know that that technicality exists. And again, he points out, quote, what they're doing now is that they're exploiting that in order to continue to genocide, albeit at a slightly reduced rate of killing. And of course, this was part of the issue at the beginning, because at the beginning of the ceasefire deal, experts were saying this is vague. It allows Israel leeway to resume attacks whenever it sees fit, which, to be fair, is what they do anyway. But now this was codified in the deal. They had pointed to Israel's routine violations of its ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah in Lebanon, which they started bombing again as well. So
Yep.
It's like these deals aren't worth the fucking paper that they're written on, and I think this is also something that Palestinians are well aware of.
But I think many people are saying, though, that Hamas had a quote unquote win, a small one, in terms of returning the end of the remaining living hostages. There's a lot of the world that says, oh, that means this needs to end. And that is a big, I don't know, rhetorical win. It is not actual. It doesn't get aid to people.
Right.
It doesn't solve problems. It doesn't rebuild Gaza. There's so much it doesn't do. But there are many people who honestly believed, and I don't know how you could remain this dumb, but honestly believed that Israel was still genociding Gaza because they wanted the hostages back. And that was the only reason. And so for those people that are ill-informed on this, it's like, okay, all the living hostages are back. Now what? Anyway, so it's a kind of propaganda win, I guess.
Well, yeah, and it obviously remains to be seen what happens as this continues. But Netanyahu has threatened further military action in Gaza if he deems Hamas to be violating the deal, which again he can just say at any point that he deems that that's what's happening. A major piece of the plan that's yet to be negotiated is the disarmament of Hamas. And they have stated that they would only surrender weapons to a Palestinian-led government in Gaza. I'm assuming that's also going to be quite the sticking point. So there's a lot here that's, I would say, purposely vague, right? Because Israel wanted something that they wouldn't have to stick to because they're not going to stick to it anyway. And so this is what we see happening right now is in line with what Israel's always done. And it's also codified in the peace deal, in the ceasefire agreement, which unlike previous deals that have been going back, I don't know, since this all started, 70, 80 years ago, no one can point really to the paperwork and say, oh, well, this is going against what it was agreed upon, because it's so vague and it's so bullshit what was agreed upon. So I mean, it's not good news, but I think especially for folks on the ground in Gaza, from what I'm hearing, the fragile hope remains, and yeah, I think that's it.
Another update on that we have been bringing to you, but these are some more exact numbers of the number of hostages that Israel still holds to this day. It's coming from
Can I?
Stephen Simler.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want to tee this one up.
I've never seen someone go, "Can I?" and then take a drink. Sure, go ahead.
I want to tee this one up for everyone.
Tee it up. Tee the shit out of it. Oh my God, this is going to be teed.
You know, I did bat fourth. Okay. You have no idea what that means, do you?
That's the cleanup batter, cleanup hitter.
Oh, do you?
Look at that.
Oh,
Yeah, because I'm not like you. I don't know zero about every sport I haven't played.
Hey, I know things about sports I haven't
She
played.
calls football hand egg. She doesn't know
you
what's
don't
going
use your
on.
feet, and it's not a ball, it's an egg, and you use your goddamn hands, okay? And football's already been taken by the rest of the
She just
world
doesn't
who
like it.
uses a foot and a ball.
She just doesn't like it because my great-great-great-grandfather invented it.
It's also true.
Look
Also,
up Walter Camp.
it is the definition.
He also had a solid mustache.
That's true. It's also the definition of American arrogance. Like, we're just gonna call this thing a thing that's not the thing, and we're gonna steal a name that's
Golf
used
of
for something
America.
else.
Golf of America, baby.
I feel like we've derailed. Okay. So the first part of this is something that you've already covered, which of course is the fact that, you know, they're not hostages when we're talking about the Palestinians, right? They're prisoners, which automatically assumes, preconfigures that they did something wrong, right?
Yep.
Which is what they did wrong was exist. Data from the Israel Prison Service shows that in September 2023, the Israeli military set what was then the record for the number of Palestinians it held in administrative detention. Administrative detention is the practice of detaining someone without charge or trial for an indefinite period of time, including children. This month.
Does it mention that? Can I just throw in there that I mentioned a lot, so you guys might be getting tired of it, that the convictions are often 60 seconds long.
Oh, he gets to
the
that.
So-called trial. Okay, then I'll stop.
Let me.
I'll stop. I just wasn't sure that this seemed more about the administrative. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So basically, this month before the hostage exchange, Israel held 3,544 Palestinians hostage as administrative detainees. That means that they're in jail for nothing, for existing. Part of a record 11,056 total Palestinian prisoners, hostages.
Before the 1,700 were released.
Right.
Yeah.
So the breakdown, he gives a breakdown of Israel's Palestinian hostages, and he points out who experience a radically different Israeli justice system than Israelis do. You've got the 3,500 administrative detainees. Wow, detainees that I just mentioned.
Detainees.
2,673 so-called unlawful combatants. They are classified as neither civilian nor combatant, denied the rights of both, and can be detained indefinitely without trial. So here you have Israel just making up these categories that allow them to treat people as, garbage. They've got 3,378 remand detainees. That means that they are charged and detained for the duration of military court proceedings, which can drag on indefinitely. And 1,461 sentenced prisoners, which again, as you just pointed out, that they are, they go up in a court and they are not given a fair trial.
No,
there's no that nice My Cousin Vinny banter back and forth where you get to actually make your case.
They're Palestinians in an apartheid justice system, a justice system that is entirely Israeli. So it's Israeli judges. It's almost exclusively Israeli lawyers. It's Israeli people working in the courts. It is Israelis saying, "Oh, we're going to convict Palestinians of whatever the fuck we want." There's nothing Palestinian about it. So the idea that you could, we'd have the same view if Americans were being grabbed up and put in front of a Mexican court. And, the people would be like, well, why is this? That's not really fair. Shouldn't you have a jury of your peers? That was an idea we used to have.
Or how about migrants being kidnapped and put in concentration camps?
What are you referring to?
It's just a hypothetical.
This is hundreds of years ago, right?
It's a hypothetical.
I don't like when you bring up stuff that's hundreds of years old.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So he points out the vast majority of sentenced prisoners. So, and of the 11,000, it's about 1,400 who are officially sentenced. He says they were never proven guilty, like actually proven guilty. Their cases were decided not after a careful consideration of evidence, but before the trial even began, when Israel initially decided to detain them. So they've already made up their minds before they go to court, if they go to court, right? And then there's the military court of appeals, which can just make things go indefinitely. They don't even have to make a decision. That's what the remand detention. You can say that, well, it's an ongoing trial. Well, how could it be an ongoing trial for 10 years, right? But this is the Israeli justice system, right? So I think it's important to recognize, and folks can take a look at Stephen Semler's page to read this more carefully. It's important to recognize that when we talk about prisoners in occupied Palestine, aka Israel, we're not talking about people that have had a trial, that have actually been proven guilty of a crime. We are talking about hostages. We are talking about people who've been kidnapped for the crime of being Palestinian. And he has a graph, which I have to say, I love Stephen's visual aids way better than Netanyahu's.
As I always like to say, for those of you listening to the podcast, picture a graph of what we're talking about.
And if you'd like to see it IRL, check out StephenSemler.com.
It's not really IRL. That'd be like physically in front of you.
For fuck's sake. You can't have Fine, I'll draw you a goddamn picture. Okay. So it shows that in September 2023, the number of Palestinians who were captive, and then it shows October 2025, there are 4,000 more Palestinians in Israeli prisons today than there was 2 years ago. 4,000 more. And it's all arbitrary, These are not people that they've caught bludgeoning someone. No, these are just people that they have taken from the West Bank and Gaza because.
Can I jump to the next one?
Please.
So you guys have may seen, and it's been a big pushing point of those spouting Zionist talking points that, the Hamas is executing people. Look at the Hamas just shooting people in the head. Apparently it's fine for Israel to murder as many as they want. But, and so it is important to also talk about this. Mondo Weiss, which does great coverage on Israel, has an article about this. Hamas is, yes, hunting down groups in Gaza that collaborated with the Israeli army. And there have been some executions, which is the video that is going viral. And I don't like to see any killing. I don't endorse any killing. I don't endorse the capital punishment in the United States. But this is what it is. This is in Gaza. These are people that worked with the Israeli military to kill, harm, and arrest Gazans. And now Hamas is rounding them up. That seems to be what's happening.
And I think this shows another thing, because a lot of times when we talk about Palestinians, we talk about them as, these perfect heroes, these perfect people that don't have that don't struggle with their own, purity or their own morals or anything like that. And as in an interview I did about a year ago with my friend, and he's a doctor in central Gaza, he pointed out that is also a form of dehumanization, because you don't allow someone the ability to be a flawed human being and to struggle with these aspects. That is a very human thing to do. So I wanted to bring this up because, first of all, I think we shouldn't shy away from this kind of news. We should contextualize it. And I'm not here to give to pass judgment on it. I'm not here to do anything like that. I'm just here to point it out as something that's happening. Some people, some Palestinians have said that it's, we need to be done with this violence. Let's stop. Others have pointed out that, one man said, frankly, they deserve even harsher punishment if you knew what they did. A man who beats and kills a 10-year-old child to steal his flower deserves execution, even worse. I'd like also to point out that Hamas has...
Who said a man who steals a flower deserves execution?
A flower? No, flower, like to eat.
Oh, steals his flower.
A man who beats and kills a 10-year-old child to take that child's flower that the child was taking home.
Different spelling, folks.
Why would... Oh my God. Well, first of all, English is fucking dumb. Can we all agree on this? It's a dumb language. It's completely like blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I'd also like to point out that Hamas has said that, where are we? Okay. The Gaza Ministry of Interior announced that it was opening an amnesty window for all collaborators with the Israeli army who were not themselves involved in bloodshed.
Yeah.
So even if that involved, the raids on these humanitarian aid sites, if there was no bloodshed, they're saying you can turn yourself in. Those who surrender will have their records wiped clean. So that's something that they've also put out there. Again,
Israel was funding these folks, arming
Yes.
them, using them to cause even more chaos, as if that's possible in the Gazan communities. And
I heard from my friend who's a doctor in central Gaza that during the first ceasefire, some of these people who had helped Israel would come in with bad wounds because during that pause in the genocide, there were not as many of these extremely serious wounds, right? They were just trying to keep people alive that had serious, previous serious issues and things like that. But they started seeing a lot of people coming in, having been really severely beaten, things like that. And these were people who had helped Israel. And my friend said that it was this like internal struggle because he of course helped them. He helped them, get better and things like that. But it's this internal struggle, like, they're laying there saying it's so unfair, it's so unfair. And he's like, well, you didn't have to collaborate with Israel. Like, this is why your community members beat the crap out of you. But so this is something that I think is important, that like not every occupied person has this, what we would perceive as this noble reaction. And who are we to even judge what is noble and what's not, right? And I think that's all. I think this is a moment not to look at them and magnify what they're doing, but a time to kind of like reflect on how we look at Palestinians. Are we looking at them, kind of like the pendulum swinging too far the other way? Like, oh, they're perfect. And they're so perfect, they're not even human anymore, because then you also pass that place where they're human. So in the quest to humanize them, you've actually dehumanized them because they're not allowed to be imperfect. So I think that this is also one of those moments to kind of question our own perceptions. I also recommend Muhammad Al-Kurd's book, Perfect Victims.
Yes, excellent book. And the similar goes on the other side. Like, a crazy percentage of Israelis support at least the completion of ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. It's in the 80 percentile. However, there are some cool Israelis who have protested against this war from day one. There are some officials who have spoken out and called it genocide. There's one Israeli that I interviewed back on Redacted tonight, and then I think I interviewed him again, but it was still a couple of years ago. But anyway, lives on a kibbutz in Israel, and both of his kids have become what are they called? Defectors, refuseniks, and they've had to. One of them, I think, served prison time for refusing to be in the military. The other one fled to some European country like Germany or France or something to avoid being in the IDF. And so these people do exist. Like, people are not a nation is not a monolith, but percentages also matter. We should talk about the percentages. Okay, last thing I think on Israel. There's this great video of the State Department official who, this happened fairly early, I think in the first few months of the genocide. This was the State Department official. It got some news, got about a day of news coverage, honestly, in mainstream media. She basically resigned because the U.S. and I think as well the UN maybe has a rule, a policy, a law saying we don't send basically missiles and bombs to countries that are refusing to give food or getting in the way of aid, getting in the way our aid.
Yeah. That's
So if we're sending food somewhere, which for a while we were pretending to send food to Gaza, if we're sending food somewhere and they're stopping our aid from getting in, we are not going to then arm them. And so she put out a report saying, which was her job in the State Department, put out a report saying, yes, Israel is stopping aid from getting in. And anyway, I want to, we'll see if Instagram works. I bet you it doesn't. I really shouldn't set up videos because they're just going to disappear now. But
I said that report will haunt us.
She means the report that they cut her voice out of it. So they cut her out of the report that before she resigned. And that's what she's talking about.
And it does. And it haunts me. The determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance is patently, demonstrably false.
In April, Stacey Gilbert was asked for her input on a Biden administration report on whether Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza.
I was shocked to see that it said in very clear terms, it is our determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance.
You had advised that that wasn't the case. Is that correct?
Yes. The subject matter experts were removed and the report was moved up to a higher level. We were told you will see the report when it is released publicly.
And then the report comes out and just doesn't include what you had to say?
I wasn't sure I read that correctly. I read it again and I sent an email then that I would resign as a result of that.
That was under Biden.
Okay. That was back under Biden. Yeah, no, it's only Trump doing horrible things. But yeah, that was back under Biden. And, you know, it also goes to show that there's a certain percentage of people working in these State Department, et cetera, that don't seem to grasp the full picture of what the U.S. empire is involved in, where they would stand on this issue, how they would behave. I mean, if you'd asked me before October 7th, if the U.S. would put in a report on Israel, whether they're blocking aid to Gaza, would they censor it? I'd be like, fuck it, of course they'd censor it. Yeah, wait, they're going to tell the truth, the U.S. State Department? But this woman, who'd worked there for 20 years, was under the impression.
But see, I do. So here's the thing. I had a really wonderful interview with Matthew Ho, who's he's a disabled Marine veteran and does amazing work speaking out against U.S. wars and foreign policy. And he said that, you know, the reason that we're not seeing generals balk at what, you know, Hegseth said about, like, we need you to commit more war crimes. He's like, because these are generals who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. They've seen war crimes and they didn't say anything then. Why would they say something now? So this is also something that bugs me. It's like somebody who's been
Thank you, Teresa.
Somebody's been working for the State Department for 20 years. It's like, how do you not know who you're working for? I don't know. It's kind of like when they said, like, Ted Bundy's girlfriend didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, I'm sorry. You didn't, like, at one point find, like, a hand in the trash. Like, I just don't know how you cannot know.
Yes.
And even so, Ted Bundy hid it way better than the State Department does. It's like, I don't understand how you don't know.
No, it's a definite amount of willful ignorance, buying into the propaganda and everything. Anyway, we got to move on. Somehow we ended up on this whole show on Israel, which was not my intention. But speaking of generals, important. No, it's not important. That's what I'm saying. Gaza's not important. Everybody knows.
Careful, somebody's going to take a clip of that and make it into like a.
Luckily, my views have been so suppressed that people don't clip me anymore. So, yeah, no, you guys are totally not important. It doesn't matter at all. And I think you know, Eleanor's starting to learn that. We'll get her. We'll get her to understand soon. But okay, we are running out of time. But you mentioned generals. What? Oh God.
I want to share my event on November 18th before we end the show. I just want to remember to share that. Okay.
Yes.
Thank
that
you.
I would.
Go ahead.
No, let's do it because we're talking about it.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me find. I gotta talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. While she does that, I will say I also have. We're getting to Venezuela here in a second, but I also have an event. Mine is far less important, but
No, that's not true.
I'm saying it first because she was typing that in. I am performing with John F. O'Donnell in New York City on December 12th. So if you want to come see live stand-up comedy, it's my first performance in New York City in years. Type in to find the Eventbrite, type in tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club because it's at the Cobra Club. tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club, not Lee Camp, just Lee Cobra
You
Club.
could probably just search on Eventbrite.
That's what I told people. That's what I told people to do last time.
Okay.
Anyway,
I didn't realize you were.
tickets are cheap. There are not many seats. It's a small room, but December 12th, going to be great fun. Hope you can make it. Okay, Eleanor's event is far more awesome and important.
It's not, my God. We're not doing qualifiers here.
And it can be attended by anyone because it's online.
It's a Zoom event.
Zoom event, so cool.
And it's raising money for doctors in Deir al-Balah, central Gaza. So all of the money for this ticketed event will go to them.
I don't know if you know this, folks. All means 100%.
It does. I'm not even good
100%.
at math, and I know that. And this is a really amazing conversation with two people that I love and admire. Mohammed Bami is a Palestinian author and professor, and Ather Zia is a Kashmiri author and professor. And they have both done a lot of work on the issue of the nation state, because the nation state is a colonial imperialist idea. It's a project that is based in that kind of violence. So their argument is that what kind of liberation and justice can we actually talk about in a decolonized future if we're doing it through the nation state paradigm? So this is going to be an amazing panel. It's happening on November 18th at 7 p.m. You can go to artkillingapathy.simpletix.com.
That's artkillingapathy.simpletix.com. It's already in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you can keep typing it right.
It's in the comments, folks.
It's in the comments.
So please go there. Again, all of the funds raised.
Simple Tix, TIX. Sorry.
Yeah. All of the funds raised go directly to the doctors in Gaza.
Yeah, it's an awesome event. And honestly, you could, even if you can't make it, you could buy a ticket to support it, etc. But they start at what, $10? And so it's $11.63 with tax.
Yeah.
So $10 tickets is the starting price. Awesome event. And I love that. It's such a cool way to raise money for Gaza also.
Thanks.
So
Trying.
Okay. Sometimes it is tough to move on to a new topic when we're talking about both of us, when we're talking about genocide. It is tough to be like, enough about genocide. So, as most of you know, Trump is trying to create a hot war with Venezuela. He's trying to coup Venezuela. They have failed over the past many years to coup Venezuela.
They're going to fail.
And thank you for the optimism.
Well,
but I found this really interesting. I really have to get to this story. Really have to get to the story. The head of the U.S. military's Southern Command, and look at that photo. Is that not a face that a mother would love? It looks like such a nice guy. Looks like such a calm.
It looks like his eyebrows are drawn in that fashion.
Looks
they
like
don't look real.
Looks like a calm and peaceful man. But believe it or not, and this guy has clearly made his career, as you were saying with Matthew Ho, made his career on being fine with the obliteration of children, of innocent people around the world. That is what the U.S. does. That is what the U.S. has been doing for decades during the entirety of this guy's career. Not like he was fighting during World War II. This guy has done nothing but obliterate innocent civilians. And yet, when it comes to whatever the fuck Trump is doing with Venezuela, he goes, a bit much. Why are we bombing fishermen in Venezuela? The military commander overseeing the Pentagon's, as New York Times, escalating attacks against boats in the Caribbean Sea that Trump administration says are smuggling drugs, said on Thursday that he was stepping down. The officer, Admiral Alvin Halsey, is leaving his job as head of the U.S. Southern Command. It was unclear why Halsey is suddenly departing less than a year into what is typically a 3-year job and in the midst of the biggest operation in his entire career. So this is the biggest thing he's ever overseen, and he's dropping out of it, which is not common in the Pentagon. But one current and one former U.S. official, both of whom spoke with anonymity, said that Halsey had raised concerns about the mission and the attacks on alleged drug boats. Other officials at the Pentagon and Capitol said the praise masked they're all saying, thank you for your service or whatever crap they say. The praise masked real policy tensions concerning Venezuela that the admiral and his civilian boss were seeking to paper over. Representative Adam Smith, who's the senior Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, said prior to Trump, I can't think of a combatant commander who left his or her post early ever. What's funny? Oh,
The editor's picks.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I've done like posts before on how like the New York Times will have. I know the podcast can't see this. The New York Times will have like something about genocide in one square, and then right next to it, do you want your cake to be a little creamier?
Dude, it literally says editor's picks. What's better than carrot cake? Sweet potato? Wearing the palette of fall foliage. This is the editor's picks.
Next to the guy stepping down because we're murdering fishermen of Venezuela.
The third editor's picks is how can I stop my mother-in-law from making insulting compliments? Insulting compliment. Okay, first of all,
hold on. My mother excels at insulting compliments. So
mother-in-laws.
So did my grandmother.
Mother-in-laws are supposed to be insulting. That's actually their job. Like that's their whole point of being. And also the fact that this is an editor's pick. What the fuck is going on? I'm sorry.
Do you realize what a New York Times editor is? So
I'm sorry. I derailed. I apologize.
You're just upset we're not still talking about Gaza. It's Gaza or nothing with you, isn't it?
Or apparently carrot cake.
So I wrote an article about it's on my Substack. I just put it out today about the New York Times coverage of Venezuela. And you can see that at reallecamp.substack.com, free to read over there. But it's about how they don't seem to understand anything about Venezuela. They don't seem to understand why the United States wants or Trump wants to coup Venezuela. They don't understand what we're doing over there. Trump has also, and this is one thing I want to get into for a second, he has okayed the CIA going into Venezuela. However, let's see, I'll pull that article up. However, the fact that this is being talked about so publicly makes me think that this is largely a psyop. When the CIA is sent to do something, it is generally secretive and they don't acknowledge it. Now, Trump is weird and different and a moron. But it seems like if he really wanted a CIA mission to work, he wouldn't be like, yeah, totally send the CIA in there. So I think this is likely a psyop. It doesn't mean the CIA is not involved in Venezuela.
They have always been.
They've been for years. However, they usually do a slightly more hands-off approach as opposed to a CIA agent getting arrested in Venezuela and then the U.S. has a whole fucking international incident and it has to trade hostages and all this shit. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying this seems more like a psyop. The New York Times covered it the other day. Then Trump was asked about it and he was like, oh yeah, totally sending CIA into Venezuela.
Yeah.
And my article at reallecamp.substack.com is about how the New York Times and Trump and all of them are bending over backwards to deny or not acknowledge the real reason that we are trying to destroy Venezuela, which is the fact that they have more oil than any other country on earth. And it's not just that we want the oil, because Maduro has actually offered to do a deal with the U.S. for the oil.
Yeah, Chevron actually got a deal recently.
Yeah, it's not just that we want the oil. It's that we don't want the oil being pumped in a large way in things outside of the petrodollar. Because you pump in another currency, when you have and it would make one of the most powerful, richest socialist countries in the world.
There you go.
Those two things.
Socialist.
Those two things are the real reasons. And New York Times, went into a whole article about why is Trump doing this? We just can't seem to figure it out.
But here's some carrot cake.
But let us tell you about some carrot cake. Some damn good carrot cake. Okay, let's squeeze another story in here real quick about Trump lying
Well, so this is
about what went down in Washington, D.C.
I just feel like the headlines these days are nearing more and more like fever dream. This headline from The Intercept is Trump fabricates story of hand-to-hand combat between troops and child gangsters in DC. I didn't read that wrong, folks. That is the headline. And this is about how apparently in DC there were some Tren de Aragua gang members that were then pummeled by the National Guard, who put them into a paddy wagon.
Children gang members.
Children.
Like 12-year-old evil Venezuelan gang members that were beaten to death or beaten by the National Guard. It is insane.
Which, of course, like, you know, when The Intercept went to talk to people about this, one person called it, quote,
thanks,
obvious,
Larry, for supporting the show.
One person called it, quote, obvious bullshit. Two more government officials laughed and said, of course not a chance. So obviously this is bullshit. But here's the thing. As somebody I recently spoke to said, Trump likes to serve his base raw meat. And that I love that visual because that's exactly what this is. His base that like really, really loves him, which by the way is not everybody who voted for him. That's a separate conversation. But they love this kind of stuff. This idea that our streets are crawling with Venezuelan gang members, which by the way, the whole Tren de Aragua bullshit is bullshit. And it's been proven bullshit, but that doesn't matter, right?
We lived in DC for 8 years. No one ever spoke Spanish to me.
Well, I spoke Spanish to plenty of people.
I'm just kidding. There's no 12-year-old soldiers, child soldiers walking down the street.
Soldiers. But I mean, this is so twisted, and it really shows again the disconnect that people have from like reality, and also from like this is so ridiculous. If you've ever lived anywhere except, you know, like bumfuck Kentucky or something, like it's so ridiculous. If you've ever been to DC, you're like, that's not a thing. So it shows that this disconnect, and it shows how ripe people are for this kind of propaganda. And this is why these kind of ridiculous comments are gaining so much traction. I recall having this conversation with historians who, you know, are now like in their 80s and 90s. Do you think Trump would have won back in the 50s or 60s when racism was arguably a much more overtly okay stance to have among a large majority or like a large portion of the white population? And they've all told me no, because education was better. So people were less likely to believe a dumb fuck like Trump.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, it's not that racism has gotten much worse or much better. It's that people have gotten dumber. And a lot of times it's not their fault, right? There are people like Trump who are just idiots, and that's just, you know, their lot in life. But some people have been completely failed. The children have been left behind. Sorry, W. But like this is a like a dumbification of the United States population. And so part of our work is necessarily to make political education and critical media literacy so obvious that would make this headline so obviously fucking dumb. I mean, I can't imagine somebody reading this being like, holy shit, that's some real shit. And being like, yes, that actually happened.
It's called de-evolution. We're gonna let Eleanor go cool down a little and center yourself, and I'm gonna do one more segment. I'm gonna do my increase of rage moment where I paused, increase my rage. No, sit still.
People like the scoot. Can we do a poll? I'd like to know who likes the scoot, because I like the scoot.
All right, go ahead and scoot.
I just want to.
Can you say goodbye and like? You're not even gonna say anything?
Happy trails to you.
It's a real Wayne and Garth situation when there's just an empty chair next to me, and I'm like, Wayne. All right.
I run things. Bye, everybody.
later to Eleanor. And I'm going to do an extra segment now for everybody over at Locals or Patreon. You can get a free month if you didn't know that. And go watch this extra segment right now by going over to leecamp.net. And when you're checking out, scroll down to become a supporter. When you're checking out, use promo code LeeCampFree. LeeCampFree, one word. Let me put it on the screen there. Go to leecamp.net. When you're checking out, use promo code LeeCampFree. You will get a month free at Locals. All the extra segments. You'll also get my ebook, Dangerous Ideas, for free. All of that just for 8 seconds. And you'll be supporting the show, even though you won't be paying a dime. So I hope you'll do that. Go get a month for free. See if you like it. LeeCamp.net. Also, if you're on my Patreon, hang in there because I will be bringing the extra segment to you as well. Patreon.com/LeeCamp. Okay, everybody. Let's see. We'll take a 30-second break, and then I will be right back. Thanks again to everybody who's not joining us in the members only. Thanks again, and I will see you Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.